Well, it's getting dark on me. Down to my last target. Looks like a little wood or... What's that? Did you guys hear that? It sounded like something howling. Oh man, something just threw something in the water right beside me. Oh, jeez. All right, guys, let's get out of here. All right, I'm finally getting close to the road. Whew, that scared the crap out of me.
If these encounters were coincidence, the same disturbing pattern would not appear across distant forests and unrelated witnesses. Tonight, we explore where unease begins before anything is seen. In remote, isolated places, people report movement without source, unexplained sounds, and a presence that never fully reveals itself. What follows are chilling encounters that continue to defy explanation and linger long after the forest goes silent. NVTV presents another unsettling encounter, one that begins with a video no one expected and a mystery that refuses to be forgotten. Deep within the isolated forests of Pennsylvania, a towering shadow was captured on camera, leaving the witness convinced it was unlike anything nature should have produced. The unwavering certainty behind the account made the footage impossible to dismiss. Determined to uncover the truth, the witness turned to seasoned Sasquatch researchers, hoping to learn whether the dark figure slipping through the wilderness was an elaborate deception or chilling evidence that something ancient and unseen still walks among us. As the mystery surrounding the towering shadow in Pennsylvania continued to deepen, another unsettling discovery surfaced from the very same wilderness. This time, it wasn't a distant silhouette that drew attention, but a trail of colossal footprints pressed deep into the snow. Their extraordinary size and unnaturally long stride dwarfed every nearby human track before leading silently into the dense forest. Though partially concealed by fresh snowfall, the evidence remained impossible to ignore, raising an even darker question. Had the unknown figure finally left behind proof that it had truly been there?
Bro, like, look how wide these are from each other. What is that? Like, these are mine. What that, bro? Like, for real? Let's follow. Look at this. What kind of thing made these steps, dude? Like, it goes all the way up into there.
If the towering shadow and colossal footprints were not unsettling enough, what followed would become far more difficult to explain. As night settled over the wilderness, the campers drifted into a peaceful sleep, unaware that something was already moving beyond the edge of their camp. Without warning, the silence erupted into violent tree knocks.
You hear it? Get Trevor. Austin, get the light.
Followed by a deafening roar unlike any known creature. The overwhelming sound rolled through the forest with terrifying force, leaving little doubt that whatever had crossed those woods was no longer keeping its distance. The wilderness keeps its secrets until the darkness decides to give one back. Sasquatch Mafia presents one of its most unsettling recordings, captured deep within Oklahoma's Ouachita Forest in September 2022. As an impenetrable blanket of night swallows the forest whole, the camera suddenly reveals an impossible sight. Two towering, heavily built figures emerge from the blackness, their massive, broad-shouldered silhouettes unlike any known wildlife. Their glowing eyes lock onto the lens with an unnerving intensity as the colossal forms advance through the darkness in eerie silence. leaving behind footage that continues to blur the line between legend and reality. Some wildernesses seem to guard secrets too old to be explained. Filmed in December 2025 within Idaho's Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, this chilling footage captures two dark, broad-shouldered figures moving silently through the dense forest. One towers over the other, creating the eerie impression of a parent leading its young. Their immense, bulky builds and unmistakably Bigfoot-like silhouettes glide between the trees with deliberate purpose, before disappearing into the wilderness, leaving behind a mystery that refuses to fade. At what point do repeated sightings stop being dismissed as isolated stories and begin to suggest that something unknown has always shared these forests with us? An endless wilderness blanketed beneath ice and snow, no voices echo through the frozen landscape, no signs of life disturb the untouched terrain, only a lone traveler pressing forward into a silence so complete it feels almost unnatural. Then, without warning, a colossal shadow materializes against the blinding white horizon. Towering, impossibly dark, and moving with deliberate purpose, the figure appears far too immense to belong to any known creature. This is Leviathan, where the silence of forgotten wilderness speaks through encounters too disturbing to ignore. And every unexplained figure leaves behind more questions than answers. But the instant he draws near, the massive figure abruptly turns, fixes its gaze upon him, and erupts into a relentless charge, transforming a lonely winter trek into a terrifying fight for survival. Wind cuts through the air as pressure drops, and everything feels unnaturally still between each gust. Mo Sagi captures accounts where the Wendigo is never confirmed by sight, but by what follows broken branches, displaced silence, and lingering disturbance that signals something has already moved through and never left behind.
So today we are going to be telling you guys some Wendigo stories in hopes that we can summon up some actual bloodthirsty Wendigos to communicate with and to catch on camera. You guys know we've had so much weird Wendigo related stuff happen on this property so far since I purchased this place.
Inside the tent, the calm snaps as something presses against the thin fabric, forcing it to twitch under unseen weight. What reveals itself in fragments is pale, almost chalk white, shifting in uneven motion that doesn't align with any living form. It appears too close, vanishing before focus can lock in. Panic fractures the air as voices overlap, but the presence doesn't retreat. It circles again, slower now, deliberate, like it's deciding when to step fully inside.
What the f*** was that? What was that? Inside the tent, what the f*** was that? You didn't see that?
No.
I swear to God, I just saw like a white arm. Like a white arm extend.
Behind you, I thought I seen something before we started. And when you...
Looking outside the camp reveals the ground broken by enormous, unnatural impressions cutting a direct path through the soil. 3 massive footprints sink deep, perfectly aligned, moving toward the trees before ending without explanation. No return marks, no disturbance beyond the final step. The silence around it feels wrong, as if whatever made them never left. It only disappeared.
So look at this. It's like something came out from here. Really big footstep, big one, middle one, and another one. And they go towards the tree and they just stop.
A violent sound detonates just outside in the darkness, twisting from a low growl into something unnatural and breaking into the loudest scream imaginable, ripping through the night like it's tearing the air itself apart. Everything locks in place instantly. Shadows jerk at the edge of visibility, gone before the mind can process them. Then silence drops back down, heavier than before, as if the night itself has gone completely unaware of them.
Whoa!
What's that? That came from inside, dude. I swear to God, I just saw something moving back there.
That was the loudest scream I've ever heard out here. That sounded like a loud scream to me, dude. Right?
What unfolds points to something crossing the clearing at impossible speed, slipping into cedar and pine where nothing large should move cleanly, then bending back toward the cabin path. It ends with a dead squirrel left like a deliberate marker, aligned with its route. With every repeat, the possibility had grown stronger. Cryptids were never just stories, but something real, still moving in the spaces beyond full understanding. Night settles heavily over the roadside, where stillness feels compressed and every distant sound seems unnaturally close, as if the air itself is anticipating something unseen to emerge. CJ Faison captures exploration footage in this tense atmosphere, where the forest is rarely seen directly, but constantly implied through fractured silence, subtle disturbances, and the lingering sense that something has already moved just beyond the tree line and may still be watching from within it.
You know, first glance, we get to the road, we pull over on the side of the road. What's your thought process right now?
Have you been inside the woods? Like, what was
What
that?
the f was that?
It's already starting.
That was almost on cue, wasn't it?
Yeah, what?
Oh, that went. What is that?
What the hell was
A
that?
fire alarm.
It like started and stopped.
Bigfoot becomes less a defined creature and more a lingering presence within the wilderness, never confirmed, only suggested through fractured silence, bent trees, and disturbances that seem too deliberate to ignore. Every account adds weight but not clarity, leaving only uncertainty that grows heavier with each unexplained detail, as if the forest itself is withholding something just out of sight.
Some of you all have said like some of the noises in my previous videos, even from like years and years past, that it sounds, I guess, for lack of a better term, it's like a Bigfoot. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know in particular if I believe in Bigfoot.
While exploring the forest edge, a faint, unsettling, winding sound emerges through the darkness, breaking the still night with a slow, deliberate rise that feels unnatural in the silence. The surrounding woods offer only unseen pressure in response. The sound tightens and closes in, shifting from distance to immediate presence along the road, implying something has already stepped out from the tree line and is now just beyond sight.
There's something over here. What the hell are we hearing?
A flash of something reflective deep in the darkness, like eyes holding still between the trees, instantly fractures the moment, pulling every thought into alertness and unease. Panic edges into the voices as uncertainty spreads, each glance searching for confirmation. Then a sharp whistle slices through the night air, too close, too deliberate, turning suspicion into the certainty that something unseen is holding position just beyond the tree line.
Oh, there's a set of eyes or something back here. What the is that?
Child, it said again.
Child? I swear something just whistled. Dominant? That's weird. The tree's like pushed over.
Yeah. That's what you get with like Sasquatch.
Scattered structures and broken formations converge into patterns too deliberate to dismiss as chance. Deep within the woods, every arrangement hints at calculated purpose, suggesting something immense is silently reshaping the forest while remaining hidden beyond sight and beyond explanation.
Did you say something?
No.
Did you?
I didn't say shit.
Did you hear that?
No.
I turned around and it sounded like somebody said, "Go back." Hunting.
Hunting?
We are not hunting. Look, it was right here. It was like, "Go back."
What the?
It was not through the ass.
I mean, all of them are like that. Like, this has got to be some Bigfoot stuff. Like, again, I don't know what I believe. Maybe I should come camp out here. Yeah, the Captain Hook tree is thick.
The final moments unravel in sudden chaos as an unseen disturbance erupts just beyond the camera's reach, demanding immediate attention, yet offering no explanation.
Yo, look, come here, come on. Holy sh**. Oh my gosh. Yo, that was huge.
With unstable ground swallowing every step forward, the pursuit ends not with answers, but with a haunting certainty that whatever drew them there never truly left. Some places refuse to give up their mysteries, no matter how many times they are explored. Beneath rain-soaked skies and along flooded forest trails, the search begins once again. Exploring with Bear follows its determined host back into a location known for its mysterious structures and unsettling discoveries, hoping the wilderness will finally reveal whatever has remained hidden among the trees.
Now, for today's cryptid investigation, I was thinking we would just sort of revisit some of the structures and X's that we've previously found here. Maybe give out some Bigfoot whoops, see if we can't get a call back. And yeah, man, as you can see, it has been raining. And the path that I'm about to take you on is flooded and looks pretty deep too. So I don't know, we'll see. It might get pretty wet pretty early. But we do got the thermal. And let's get back there and see if we can't see anything.
A quiet creek carves its way through the wilderness, creating the perfect gathering place for unseen wildlife. The silence is suddenly broken by a distant, unfamiliar call. As the search continues, a series of fresh tracks and disturbed earth emerge, each impression appearing strikingly recent. Together, he paints an unsettling picture that something large has been moving through the forest, remaining frustratingly out of sight.
Sounded like a turkey. That sort of looks like a track in a way.
The deeper he ventures, the more the forest begins to feel deliberately arranged rather than naturally formed. Towering trunks appear manipulated into an intricate display, raising unsettling questions about what could have shaped them. Then the ground offers something far harder to dismiss: crisp, deeply pressed footprints with unmistakable toe detail. A second impression waits only a few steps away, suggesting the unseen maker of the trail may not be far ahead.
Look at it. Is that not awesome, man? That's probably one of the best X's I've ever seen. Smokes. That is a footprint. You can see the toes. There's another one. Wait a minute.
What first appears to be a single impression quickly unfolds into something far more unsettling. One massive footprint leads to another, each pressed deep into the softened earth with remarkable clarity, forming a purposeful trail through the forest. The nearby X-shaped structure only deepens the mystery, suggesting the discoveries may not be isolated. As he narrowly avoids stepping onto one of the prints, a chilling realization takes hold. The evidence is fresh, and whatever is left may not be as distant as it seems.
Oh, man, that's pretty deep too. Look at how deep that is. Okay, that's right foot. That's left. That's left and right foot. There's got to be more. Did it come from there? There's the X too. I almost stepped on that footprint, man. Oh, I got the chills.
The trail suddenly ends, as though its maker had vanished into thin air. For several unsettling moments, no trace remains, until another enormous footprint emerges from the forest floor far ahead. Its deeply impressed toe marks are unmistakable. Then, another appears, and another. What seemed impossible moments earlier transforms into an uninterrupted trail, carrying the chilling implication that something immense is still just beyond sight.
Where'd he go? Right there. There was nothing from there to there? Are you kidding me? That's toes, man. It's like the front of the foot. Hell. More. More. More.
What he expected to be a routine search became something far more extraordinary. An expanding trail of massive footprints exceeded every expectation, leaving behind evidence that transformed the entire investigation into an enduring mystery. With cool air drifting through vast, untamed backcountry and an endless sky stretching without a single break, the wilderness feels both beautiful and unfamiliar. On Straight Explorer, a lone traveler pushes deeper into remote terrain, searching for a suitable place to set camp for the night. But as the trail dissolves into silence, the calm begins to feel uneasy, like the forest is watching, holding its breath just beyond the trees where daylight slowly fades.
So if we just keep heading east, all I gotta do is hopefully just head west to get back out of here. I've got to find a suitable place for the tent. It's not massive, but I do need some fairly flat ground. See, as you can see, it's pretty rough terrain in here.
He was focused on what he was doing when a distant howl suddenly shattered the silence, growing louder and more unsettling with each passing second. A tense voice broke in, urging him to stop immediately, uncertain and uneasy. Then everything went silent at once, leaving a strange, heavy stillness that felt wrong.
Okay, that's a bit weird. What I was just going to tell you as well, it's stopped now. It started raining. So what I did, I quickly bagged up a load of wood just in case it chucked it down. I can't get signal out here to check the weather, but before I left home, it didn't say there was going to be any rain, so hopefully that was just a little cloud passing by. But that howling, it was coming from that way. And we don't have wolves.
A faint shushing sound cuts through the darkness, interrupting the moment. Everything pauses as the forest seems to shift just beyond view. Another sharper noise follows closer and more deliberate, suggesting movement nearby. A call goes out into the night, but it answers only with silence deeper and increasingly unsettling.
I swear I just heard something go like, shh. It'd be impossible for someone to walk around here without a light. They'd end up losing an eye. Shit. Now I'm doing it. Shh. messy. I'm not going to be able to clip that on properly because I haven't got my gloves to handle it after.
The stillness fractures as sharp knocking erupts from deep within the trees, pulling attention instantly into the darkness. The forest seems to respond with intention rather than randomness. A faint voice follows, carrying a word that sounds like safe, but it only heightens the tension. Another broken fragment of speech slips through, as if the woods are speaking back, leaving the moment disturbingly unnatural and impossible to ignore.
Tree knocking? What's knocking? What was that? Hello?
Horror takes hold as a desperate voice breaks into the darkness, shaken and increasingly frantic. Everything should feel familiar, yet nothing aligns with memory, as if the forest has quietly rearranged itself. Each direction deepens the confusion, stripping away certainty and replacing it with disorientation. What should have been the path back to camp collapses into something unrecognizable, leaving only doubt and the chilling realization of being completely lost.
Oh man. Okay, it gets even weirder. Right, so I've just come from that way. I know when I left this camp, the tent was there. I went that way. 1000%. I looked at my compass and it said that way.
What begins as a relentless nightmare of exhaustion and uncertainty slowly resolves as the ordeal nears its end. After hours of confusion and strain, the journey finally breaks as the vehicle comes into sight. With relief and disbelief, the decision is made to turn back, leaving the endless struggle behind in the fading darkness.
Jesus Christ, man. That is the strangest thing that has ever happened to me. I know 100% we walked into there east and I looked at my compass before I left and I knew a rough direction of the way I came and I headed west.
The snowfall was relentless, swallowing the road in thick white sheets, reducing visibility to almost nothing as the vehicle pushed forward through the frozen wilderness. Backcountry Sightings reports the vehicle continuing its steady advance through the storm, headlights carving weak tunnels through a storm-blind forest as the terrain grows increasingly hostile. At the snowline's edge, a dark presence is intermittently seen, standing perfectly still in the whiteout, too large and defined in its stillness to be mistaken for terrain or distortion.
This is not like a terrorist attack or a natural disaster or an act of war where the world completely changes over the course of an hour. Because this is something that's going to unfold. It's been unfolding for months. It's going to continue to unfold.
With every mile forward, pressure builds, and signals increasingly suggest something watching from beyond the whiteout, fixed where visibility collapses into uncertainty. Then contact breaks without warning. Only static, fading transmission, and the final certainty that whatever stood there did not move. It simply stopped being seen. Jay Bear, the daring explorer behind Exploring with Bear, is no stranger to the unknown. Known for venturing into shadowed forests and frozen wildernesses in search of cryptids, he's faced growls, shaking trees, and sights few dare to believe. Tonight, he returns to a remote lake, its icy surface hiding islands rumored to hold Bigfoot activity. Months earlier, Bear glimpsed what looked like a Bigfoot structure on one of these islands, a sight that has haunted him ever since. Now, with the ice uncertain beneath his feet and something enormous moving just beyond the tree line, he attempts a perilous crossing. Every step forward could bring him closer to the truth, or straight into danger.
duper scary adventure. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jer Bear. I'm bringing you back where me and B was just at the other night. There was growling and trees shaking here. But not only that, there is a frozen lake. Now there's a couple islands on this lake as well. Now, on one of the islands, I have seen a Bigfoot teepee. It's like 5-6 months ago or something. And I've been waiting for the ice to freeze. The only thing is, I don't know for sure if the ice is totally frozen. So, this is now going to be my second attempt at trying to reach Bigfoot Island across this frozen lake with something big that runs around back here.
Panic flared as holes marred the ice more than he had first noticed. How could this be? Why here? Each new gap made the frozen lake feel far more dangerous. One hole, then another, as if the ice itself was breaking apart beneath him. The smooth surface that had seemed so inviting now felt unpredictable, alive, and threatening, turning every step into a nerve-wracking gamble.
Oh man, look at that. I think those are holes in the ice. That is not a good sign. How is that possible? Why do we have holes in the ice? Okay, that just made this way more terrifying. I thought I seen holes in it, but those are actual. There's another. Oh, there's more.
He noticed a hole in the ice, right where he had stepped last time. That wasn't there before. Nearby, another patch looked wet, dark, and unstable. More small gaps appeared across the surface, each one making the lake feel less certain. The frozen path that had seemed solid now carried a quiet warning. Every step needed caution.
That was crazy. Why does that spot look wet now over there? Where I'll step and look, it looks wet. There's holes. Man.
A sharp knock cut through the stillness, followed by another, two distinct sounds that made him freeze. The first seemed to come from somewhere behind him, the second from the island across the ice. What or who could be out there, moving unseen? The frozen lake felt suddenly alive, every shadow and echo carrying a warning.
That was like a knock. Another knock. That was 2 knocks. You guys heard that? Okay, now I'm confused. The first one actually sounded like it came from back here.
The sound came again, louder this time, sharper. Another knock, deliberate, echoing across the ice. He scanned the lake, trying to locate it, and then it became clear. That knock came from the island. Something was there, moving unseen, watching. The silence that had felt safe now carried a quiet tension, and every step forward felt heavier, uncertain.
I didn't even do that one that loud. Did you hear that? Hold on. Where's that? Hold on. Smokes. I know you heard that. That knock. Hold on.
A sudden sting on his face made him start, every sense on alert. Something stirred in the darkness behind him, subtle but unmistakable. Shadows seemed to shift and stretch, and the frozen lake no longer felt predictable. Every movement carried a weight, every sound set him on edge. Whatever was out there was close, observing, and very much aware of him.
Oh my goodness, man. My heart's freaking pounding. I'm super duper on edge. Something's back there. Again. Oh man.
Tonight proved just how unpredictable this place can be. Between the faint knocks from Bigfoot Island, the ice threatening to give way, and that unnerving sense of being watched, the forest never lets go of its secrets. Every sound felt like a clue, every shadow a hint of something just out of reach, creature of the night or something entirely unknown. The lake could have been a trap at any moment. There are more questions than answers, more echoes than explanations. And one thing is certain, this forest still has stories to tell, and he isn't done listening yet. On a tense night drive through isolated back roads, the atmosphere grows heavier with every passing mile, uncertainty building in the darkness. Wild Dreams film follows their journey as they arrive at a graveyard linked to reported encounters. With hesitation fading, they step forward, where silence deepens and something unseen lingers.
It puts you on edge. You're apprehensive. It's hard to tell where you're at. Then you come out at a graveyard.
I'm almost positive that I read this was one of the places that they saw an actual encounter. You want to set up here? Yeah, let's do it.
Digital recorders are armed and locked into silence as the investigation begins. One is mounted on the vehicle, aimed into the darkness behind, while another rests atop a cold tombstone. Night is chosen for reported activity as movement begins through the graveyard and an unseen presence feels increasingly close and aware.
We get our digital recorders, we got them set. We place one on the vehicle facing behind us, and the other recorder, we place it on top of one of the tombstones.
A wood knock is sent through the trees, a deliberate primate-style signal meant to provoke a response from the darkness. Silence answers first, dense, unnatural, almost watchful. The attempt is repeated. Then 3 measured knocks return from deep within the forest, at an unsettling distance. Instantly after, even the forest falls silent.
We heard 3 knocks. It seemed like it was about 60, 70 yards. And then the sounds just stop.
We've heard
tension drops into a suffocating silence as something moves through the woods, footsteps closing in with slow, deliberate intent. Panic builds as it sinks in. Only one person knows their exact location. Then, an eerie whistle slices through the dark, sharp and unnatural, stopping everything at once as the forest goes completely still.
We definitely got company.
Nobody knows where we're at. The only one that knows where we're at that night is my wife. And we hear this whistling.
And that sound is like a whistling.
Distant howls tear through the night like a surrounding pack until one fractures into something raw and distorted, as if caught and restrained in the dark. Panic detonates, pulse hammering as reality bends under pressure. Adrenaline floods in and understanding locks in. This is not chaos, but a warning meant to push them out. What began as a simple s'mores instructional recording, presented by DMX UK, in rural Oklahoma, slowly unraveled as dusk settled over the tree line. The children remained focused on their lesson, unaware that the camera was quietly recording something far more unsettling behind them. At first, it seemed like nothing more than shifting shadow and distortion in the fading light, but frame by frame, it resolved into something undeniable. A tall, motionless figure covered in dense hair, watching in absolute stillness where no one thought to look.
The best place in Oklahoma is the southeast corner. There's a tremendous number of reports that continue to be generated in this particular area. There's even a local Bigfoot festival in one of the small towns nearby.
This video's very interesting. I knew we had to come check it out. Not just because of what you see, but what the circumstances were. These kids are doing an instructional video, how to make s'mores, cameras obviously on a tripod.
And you just get it over there for a while, and you get it real close to the fire. Make sure not to touch the wood. Yeah, because then it'll be nasty.
A few days later, on replaying the footage, something subtle in the background began to shift, breaking the illusion of normalcy. When asked what he thought it was, his first reaction was immediate: the legendary creature Bigfoot. Others pushed back, suggesting it was likely a bear. Yet between instinct and logic, the image remained unresolved, unsettling, and difficult to dismiss.
When you saw the video and you saw this thing moving in the background, what did you think it was?
Of course I said, look, it's Bigfoot, because that's my first reaction.
You know, I thought a bear, you know, that's just because, for me, I don't think Bigfoot's that logical.
In the recreated scene, the atmosphere shifts into something immediately off. Laughter and motion give way to sudden urgency as the subject bursts into a sprint with unsettling speed. Witnesses note its size, equal to or larger than a human, yet what stands out is not just scale, but the fluid, almost effortless stride. Across reports of Bigfoot encounters, this smooth, gliding movement is often described as unnatural, precise, and deeply difficult to rationalize. The journey had seemed straightforward at first: move deeper into the wilderness and document whatever lay beyond the reach of safe ground. But the forest from the Travel Channel carried a reputation that seasoned explorers didn't question, only respected in silence. Whispers of distorted sounds moved between the trees, and encounters that defied explanation had lingered here for years. As they pressed further in, that quiet confidence had begun to erode, replaced by a growing awareness that something unseen had already been aware of them long before they ever arrived.
It was within probably 5 minutes of being back in these woods, we were like, where are we?
Look around. Where are we? We're right by the,
As we got deeper into the woods, we started to realize that we were getting confused.
Wait, we were on the path.
It was like it was a completely different area. And we had made that walk about an hour before with zero problem.
It's this way. Come on.
Wait. We started taking the wrong paths. It seemed like things had changed.
This confusion set in to where we didn't necessarily know which direction we were walking.
Rising panic, admitting they had been walking in circles. In the tense silence that had followed, faint twig snaps had begun to echo through the trees. Then heavy thuds had started to close in behind them. At first, it had been dismissed as a deer somewhere in the deep woods, but that assumption had quickly fallen apart. The rhythm had been wrong, too heavy, too controlled. Nothing human and no deer could have moved like that. Something large had been moving just out of sight through the dark between the trees, as whatever was out there had been closing in on them with steady intent.
Like twig snapping.
We started hearing these loud thuds behind us.
Oh, just a deer. And obviously there's a lot of deer in Iowa. So immediately I started to assume it's probably a deer.
and it sounded like footsteps, but like heavy footsteps, not like a human. There's no way that's a deer. It was something very large.
A sudden whisper had broken the silence. Whatever had been moving through the dark had been drawing closer, step by step. Their bodies had locked in place as fear had taken over completely. No explanation had existed for what had been out there, only the certainty that it had been real. Run had been the only thought left as the unseen presence had kept closing in.
Basically frozen in fear.
I don't like this, man.
I have no idea what could be coming at us.
There's definitely something out there.
We just want it out.
Bro, let's get out of here.
A massive figure had been seen emerging from the dark. Broad, square shoulders had been covered in thick hair. A huge head had been visible, with glowing red eyes and long, tangled hair falling over it like a mane.
I could see broad, square shoulders covered in hair, a giant head, which was encased with these red eyes, and long flowing hair that drooped down onto the shoulders as well. The head was probably roughly the size of a good-sized pumpkin. And then the shoulders, my goodness, probably 4 feet across. I mean, the only thing I could compare it to would be a giant gorilla.
The head alone had been roughly the size of a large melon. The shoulders had stretched nearly 4 feet across, resembling something between a man and a giant gorilla, towering unnaturally in the night. CTV News reported an unsettling discovery in a community east of Seattle, where an extensive trail of enormous footprints was uncovered, cutting through the snow as if something impossibly large had passed. Sasquatch investigators were called in to examine the site, documenting the impressions and attempting to replicate the staggering stride pattern. One researcher followed the trail into softer ground, where it abruptly vanished, leaving behind an eerie silence and unanswered questions.
There's 4 feet right there. An investigator measures an unusual series of footprints left in the snow in Washington state. A cast is taken and failed attempts are made to replicate the 4 to 6 foot strides required to leave the trail.
He took time off work, photographed them, filmed them, actually followed the trail in the snow to where the Sasquatch apparently stepped onto some ground.
A wildlife biologist, Bindernagel, presented what he described as compelling evidence tied to the legendary creature, including eyewitness drawings, deep impressions in the ground, and casts formed from tracks that seemed too large to belong to anything known. These materials were brought into public presentations across multiple locations, including a gathering set for Cumberland.
Who has documented evidence he says is left by the legendary creature.
The eyewitness descriptions, eyewitness drawings, tracks and track photographs and track casts, very important to me, very compelling.
Those casts are included in presentations Bindernagel gives to the public in various locations. He'll be giving one tonight in Cumberland.
I don't know who's in the audience, and I assume that there's a lot of skeptics.
Ahead of the event, he noted the uneasy mix of skeptics and agnostics in the audience, as if expecting doubt to hang heavily in the room when the evidence was finally laid bare. The Animal Planet team travels deep into the remote mountains of Nepal in search of the Yeti. Their investigation leads them to ancient monasteries, where they are shown a sacred relic believed by some to be physical evidence of the legendary creature. Amid silence and tradition, they confront stories, belief, and mystery that continue to surround the elusive Yeti.
There it is.
Pangboche.
It's pretty exciting to finally see some physical evidence of what's believed to be a Yeti.
Namaste.
Namaste. The rumor is back in the 1950s, Peter Byrne smuggled one of the fingers to England for testing, but it turned out to be human. I'm curious what the monks have to say about that.
A solitary monk was said to have ascended into the remote Himalayas and had entered an isolated cave for deep contemplation. Within that isolation, he was reported to have encountered a Yeti. Years later, upon returning to the same cave, he was said to have found the creature deceased. According to the account, he had retrieved the scalp and hand and had carried them back to the monastery where they were preserved as relics.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I remember. Well, we can tell it was a male because it's got male pattern baldness.
The llama points the team toward the Aran Valley as the most likely ground for a Yeti encounter. Cliff acknowledges the direction, and the expedition moves out from Pangboche. With Sherpas bearing their equipment, they set into a challenging ascent through rugged terrain, advancing deeper into the Himalayas in pursuit of the elusive presence said to inhabit these remote heights.
The llama told us to go to the Arun Valley, which since it's not too far from the Pangboche Monastery, we're going to hike there with the help of Sherpas carrying our gear.
Get their Sherpas on.
We're going to set up camp on the edge of the Arun Valley, and tonight we're going to do our first nighttime exploration to try to encounter a Yeti.
As night settles over the valley, the team sets up camp in the freezing dark, every sound amplified by the silence of the mountains. Then it breaks. A howl echoes across the ridges, followed by another from deeper below, answered as if in return.
Hey, 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 something howled.
There it is again. 2.
Did you hear that?
I heard it. You guys hear that howl?
Yeah, we just heard him, 2 of them, down in the valley.
The team goes still, realizing something in the darkness is already aware of them. So what do you believe is really moving out there? Just beyond the firelight? Is this the Yeti they came here for? Watching from the shadows of the mountains? Bridges are meant to connect 2 places, but the historic bridge in this next footage might as well be connecting our world with something far more sinister. Deep in the woods of Denton, Texas, this old iron structure carries a legacy of terror so intense that local residents refuse to speak its name after sunset.
If you were a goat man, interact with something now. My viewer, Trace. No, I'm kidding. This is my friend Trace. And then the professional dingus.
Yeah. Peter Rainer Dingo, what's up?
So you believe in goat man?
I'm a big believer in anything paranormal.
He haunts me in my dreams.
Alright, we just found the bridge. It wasn't that deep in. Holy shit.
I don't set foot on it. I feel weird stepping foot on it.
This is Goatman's Bridge. We are on Goatman's Bridge. One of the other theories is that Goatman is an evil spirit on this bridge. And so that's why we brought a lot of ghost equipment to test that basically. But before we do that, there's a lot of other theories around the woods surrounding this. I feel like we should do that first.
On the YouTube channel Groovy Gavin, a team of investigators travels to the infamous Old Alton Bridge, better known to locals as Goatman's Bridge. Legend states that a part goat, part human entity stalks the structure and the surrounding forest, occasionally dragging visitors into the dark. Local interviews reveal a long history of unexplained missing persons and terrifying nighttime noises linked to the location.
This is them. Oh, I thought... Sorry. Ethan, you careful.
Oh, what?
Bro, that's a hole. Oh.
Oh, now that's actually interesting. What?
There's
another hole right there.
Oh, what the? Bro, if there's a cat down here, dude, I'm gonna lose my... It's like squishy.
That's terrifying.
Dude, look how deep it like...
Oh my... Wait, what?
There might be cats buried in here.
Wait, you just take a picture of the ground?
Nope, totally not.
The team enters the dense forest surrounding the bridge to investigate rumors of cult activity. They discover a series of deep, unexplained holes dug into the damp forest floor. The soil is strange and squishy, and the deep pits lead the group to wonder if something sinister has been buried beneath the roots.
Feeling pretty happy?
Yeah.
I feel good.
I'm happy as well.
Oh, I thought I saw a figure, bro. I'm sure if I see that, I'll notice. Why'd you have to show that right now?
Sorry.
I thought I saw something move, bro. I thought I saw something move.
Oh my god, dude.
It's not what we're looking for. Dude. What?
Something flew up. What the f?
You're lying. What do you mean flew up? Are you being for real?
No,
Bro, I heard a crazy. Did you hear a scream? The goat man's name is Steven, apparently.
Steven! Steve!
Only his friends call him Steve.
Yeah, you know. I can do a goat call. Should I do that?
Oh yeah, do that.
I used to be able. I used to be really good at.
That was not bad, actually. I think you need a better call. That's a dog.
Yeah.
We'll listen for the call back.
Okay. Oh my god.
Bro, it looks exactly like this.
As they trek deeper, the atmosphere shifts. One investigator experiences a sudden, intense feeling of dread, while another spots a dark, unidentifiable shape shifting through the distant trees. Suddenly, a chaotic, loud screech echoes through the woods, sounding like a frantic woman screaming out in the dark.
Heard the screams from?
Oh! Hey, he saw a goat man!
Dude, we saw two pairs of glow eyes over there. Yeah, I saw right over there.
Right over there?
Yeah.
It was like
some skinwalker type shit. Oh, don't say that thick. No, like for real. No, don't. Wait, it was like right back in that corner. Oh my god. Shit. Holy shit. Let's go down here. Turn off all your lights. Turn off all your lights.
We're now back at the bridge. I think everyone's left at this point. I think it's like 1:30 or 2. And now it's time to try the ghost equipment to see if Goatman is a evil spirit like people claim.
I think that.
All right, so you said you've never like done any of this stuff, right? Okay, these are literally 2 normal flashlights. I'm gonna give these to you because I feel like you'll validate it because you've never done this before.
Oh.
So see, like a normal flashlight, right?
Yeah.
And then this is the other thing we have. Basically, I'll turn this on, and it's a motion sensor.
Returning to the bridge after midnight, the host sets up specialized ghost hunting gear, including motion sensors and communication flashlights. They knock on the historic metal structure to provoke the entity, demanding that the spirit make its presence known.
Pants are all the way down. The water is coming right out.
All right, man. This has not ever happened while I'm alone. Oh man. If there's something here, I'm coming over to turn off the motion detector. I'm going to turn it back on now.
Left entirely alone on the bridge in the dead of night, the host captures a sudden spike in activity. Rustling sounds erupt from the bushes, and the motion sensors abruptly trigger. While no physical beast appears, the oppressive, active energy leaves the host terrified, cementing the bridge as a spot for the unexplained anomalies. On the YouTube channel The Shell Smith, a short video recorded in Jefferson County, Florida, shows a face-to-face encounter with a massive creature lingering just on the border of the woods. The clip starts with a view of a dirt road. A teal pickup truck is parked on the left, and a red SUV sits on the right side of the path, parked facing away from the camera. The setting is bright and clear, surrounded by green trees and a fence line running along an open pasture. The camera suddenly whips to the right, panning over the red SUV and focusing on the open, grassy field beyond. In the distance, a large, dark, furred figure is seen moving swiftly across the bright green grass. The bipedal creature runs on 2 legs with a wide stride, cutting directly across the clear field before disappearing into the woods. What do you think was really out there? Were these witnesses misidentifying ordinary things in the dark, or did they come face to face with something unknown? From massive figures in the forests to strange sounds in the night, the mystery remains unsolved. Share your theory in the comments below, and if you had been there, would you have stayed to investigate or run before it was too late?